Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
Okay, so this song by Srinivasacharya is describing the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, who are the primary disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you can just see that they set the example by loudly chanting the holy name and dancing. And he describes them as an ocean of love of God, and popular with both the gentle and the ruffians. So this is important because when you go on a book distribution, then you might meet a few ruffians. But our environment, and especially people, respond to the nature of our own heart. And if in our heart we are well-intended and purified by the process of chanting the Lord's names and feeling communion with Him every day, then we'll be what's called soft-hearted. And even animals know when somebody's soft-hearted. They respond favorably often, and humans do too. But even if they don't, it's an opportunity. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the way that you get spiritual blood for your spiritual body, you do know you have a spiritual body, right? Did you know it has spiritual blood? The way to get spiritual blood into your spiritual body is through facing rejection, he said. So when you go out for Sankirtan, it's a unique opportunity to face rejection, which doesn't happen very much. Mostly it happens within one's mind. One imagines that something horrendous is going to happen, like someone might say no, and so forth. But when it does happen, it is an opportunity. So, continuing, the Goswamis of Vrindavan were blessed by Lord Chaitanya, and they were engaged in missionary activities. These, according to our theology, are eternal associates of the Lord, but when they come to the material world, we're to follow what they did materially, not materially, but that is in their manifestation on this earth, which means writing books, distributing them, opening up holy places, and so forth. These are activities that Srila Prabhupada also engaged all of us in, and this means following the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis. You're welcome, you can come. And of course, this verse, which describes Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipuno Shadharma Samstapako. So the Goswamis established the Sampradaya by clearly delineating the Siddhanta. So understanding what the meaning of worshiping God is, how one connects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who we are, all the very clear information that we have in our scriptures has been accumulated by the 6 Goswamis. And they've gone through the Shastra to very clearly show us how to follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who asked them to do such things, so that in the future we could be sitting here in Dallas and taking up the process of bhakti by following the guidelines that they set up. So the 6 Goswamis were the direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we're following in their footsteps, and this is the way of success for devotional services, Anu, as the Anu means to follow. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami says, Bejare muneo tagre bhagavan tamadhoksajam sattvam vishudam shemaya kalpante yenutaniha. That previously all the great souls worshipped the Lord, Vishnu, who's beyond the 3 modes of material nature, because they knew that's the direct path, the most auspicious path. And anybody who follows in their footsteps is eligible for the same result. So the process of devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of the great authorities and great souls. I have a thing with cats. They always come to me. But she probably comes to everybody. So I want to ask a few of you why you came here tonight before I go into the main part of the presentation. Where did my devotee go? Oh, that was you. Prabhu, could you put me on there? So please just a few of you say what brought you here tonight. What's the main reason that you came?
And if everybody can use this mic here, our wireless mic isn't working.
You're hired. Nice, thank you. But be a little snappy about it. Yeah, go ahead.
I came because I heard you were going to be. Telling us how to distribute the Bhagavad Gita on its own merit.
Okay.
And in my very limited distribution, I've had trouble with Gita.
Okay, we will do that. I guarantee you, I will teach you a method to distribute Bhagavad Gita by which you'll be able to distribute a Bhagavad Gita to anyone at any time, and with no problem at all. And money back guarantee from this seminar. Okay, who else could tell us why you came here tonight? And somebody, yes, please go ahead, Bhakti Daniel.
Well, I'm particularly excited to...
Now, just one housekeeping. This is live on Facebook right now, and the devotees on Facebook are, craning their necks, listening in so they can hear what you have to say. So help them out by putting the microphone so you can actually feel it on your chin. There you go. There you go.
I'm particularly excited to learn more about how to distribute books in different languages.
Okay. I will show you a method by which you can distribute books in any language. And it's actually easier than distributing a book in English. And to prove it, in the last 3 years in Jagannath Puri, in our yatra, we had devotees from China, Japan, America, who knows where else, all over the world. And in each of our yatras, in 5 days in Jagannath Puri, we distributed 5,000 books in Aryan and Bengali. That is Chinese devotees distributing to people in Orissa. And it's as easy as falling off a log. So if you find yourself falling off logs very easily, you'll find this distribution of foreign books a great delight and easy to do. We'll take one more while you came here tonight. Right over here. Our favorite bhakta. You can just stay there, we'll bring it to you. We have a special service. Oh, maybe not. You can go over there. I didn't know we were going to have a clothesline effect here.
Hare Krishna. I'm new to the...
Hold it to your chin. Let it touch, and then you know you're good.
There's a brahmachari ashram starting in Houston, and I'm new to it, as well as the other two bhaktas who are here with me as well. And we're meeting some really very nice people out on our Sankirtan, but we're not distributing too many books, so we'd like to learn some more of the art of getting the books out to people.
We will teach you the way to get carloads, truckloads, airplane loads, shiploads of books out. Tens of thousands of books per month, if you so desire, ways to organize to do that. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
I guarantee it. I promise you. Okay. Hare Krishna. So you hold on to that. And I'm going to start because I've made a few lofty promises here. I want to fulfill them as quickly as possible. Here we have Sriman Kushakrata Prabhu, who is one of Prabhupada's disciples, who wrote prolifically. In fact, all he did was write and translate. He locked himself in a room. He only read by sunlight. And he was a bit of an enigma. He learned Sanskrit very quickly. He wrote this beautiful prayer: seeing the fierce army of illusions put forward by the forces of Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada has released an unlimited shower of powerful arrows in the form of his books. So these analogies Prabhupada liked also. When he wrote letters from wherever he traveled to, he would put Camp Dallas, Texas, Camp Geneva, Switzerland. Camp means a military camp. And he talked in those terms, temple commander and so forth. There's ways in which The military organizes itself to fight a battle, and we're also in the same mode of fighting the battle, first against the demons within our own hearts, and then assisting others to overcome them by Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And so we believe we have the ways and means to do that, and we've seen anecdotally thousands, tens of thousands of people who have come in contact with especially transcendental knowledge and being able to extricate themselves from the complexities of the material world. This was the suggestion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the way. When he was teaching Sanatan Goswami, he said, Maya Mugda Jivara Nahi Svata Krishna Gyan. Jivara Kripaya Koila Krishna Veda Puran. Especially, he mentions that living entities don't automatically come out of Maya. It's not swata or automatic. There needs to be an intervention. And the intervention is when somebody who's wandering in this world meets what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called a devotee physician. And what do physicians generally carry with them? Stereotypically, what do physicians have? Stethoscope, where do they keep it? What kind of bag?
Black bag.
A little black bag, yeah. Yeah, exactly. They carry a little bag. So, in the old days when we used to have doctors that went to people's houses, they'd have a stethoscope in a little black bag and they'd go to somebody's bedside. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a similar image that there's devotees who are like doctors. And they would go here, there, and everywhere, Bhakti Without Borders, and they would bring with them two things. One is hymns, that means songs, mantras, and instructions. So that's what the devotee Vaijyas, the devotee doctors, have in their little black bag. Mantras and instructions. So with those two things, one can extricate oneself from the material world, because the information we get here from various institutions, if the knowledge isn't coming from outside the closed system of the material world, it won't help you to transcend the modes of material nature. But the knowledge coming from the Bhagavad Gita, as an example, is transcendental. It's coming from a source which is unsullied by the three modes of material nature. It's outside the closed system of this universe. And anyone who avails themselves to that knowledge can be rescued from the tabernacle of the material world. So here we are. It's May 2019, if I'm not incorrect, and I hope that is. And this is Dallas. So here's our legacy. We are part of a sampradaya. Sampradaya actually means the complete gift. That's what it means. It means actually gift giving. And if you can get this kind of work in life, and that is to be a giver, to be a servant, and to give people the best thing. A lot of people are givers, but they want something in return. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda are going down the streets of Nadia and encouraging their followers to go everywhere, and they sing, Radha Krishna Bolo Shangi Cholo E Matra Bhika Chai. Bhika means to beg. So they're begging only one thing: please come with us and chant Hare Krishna. They don't want anything in return. They just want to give the best thing to people. And when one has this feeling that all I want to do is serve in the best possible way I can do for myself and others, to give them the greatest gift, this is a happy life. This is the best kind of work that you can get. And that's what sampradaya means, actually. To align oneself with the best gift and then dedicate one's life to giving it to other people. So this is a picture of Srila Advaita Acharya. And in our ontology, he is Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of Lord Krishna, who manifests the ingredients for the material world, and then after doing so, creating the various ingredients of the material world, then he enters into it as Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and then Shiradakshay Vishnu enters into everyone's heart. And Advaita Acharya appears in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great compassion in his heart, because he knows the predicament of every soul in the material world. And he's vitally interested with giving them an opportunity to come out of their enthrallment with the illusory material energy. And now we see the simple process of Krishna consciousness at work here. This is a place that you can visit. The Ganga was a lot closer, but you can go to Shantipur, where we go every year when we're on our yatra. And there in Shantipur you'll find that the place where Srila Advaitacharya would sit, and he worshipped this Shalagram Shila, which is one of the self-manifested deities of Krishna. And he found a verse in the scriptures that said if you offer tulsi leaves and Ganges water to the Lord, then he'll sell himself to such a devotee. So he took up this worship of Shalagram and he made loud cries for the Lord to please appear in this age in order to rescue the fallen conditioned souls. Because he saw the onset of Kali Yuga was an onerous period for the living entities. That is, they were overwhelmed by it. And even those who were supposedly from high families had become overwhelmed and had lost their way. So he was praying, and the result of his loud cries, and by the way, I mentioned this is a simple way to understand the Krishna conscious movement. If you ever want to restart the Krishna conscious movement or get it started in any remote part of the world, this is what's required. You can be in one place and pray to the Lord for his help. And Srila Advaitacharya also held open Bhagavad Gita classes. And people would come from various places to listen to him speak, and he would chant Hare Krishna. That's how the Hare Krishna movement started. That's how it always starts. With classes on Bhagavad Gita and the chanting of the Maha Mantra sung by those who are well-intended, means they're servants, and they're thinking, how can I serve the Lord in the best way? So isn't this a nice image? You can be anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. Name a remote place here in America.
Alabama.
Better be really remote. Where?
Alabama.
Alabama, yeah. One of you tonight we're going to send on a free trip to Alabama. As long as you stay there and restart the Hare Krishna movement. And all you're going to need is a Bhagavad Gita, and we'll give you a pair of cartels. And we guarantee you that if you stay there and chant Hare Krishna and hold open classes on Bhagavad Gita, you'll start the Hare Krishna movement in Alabama. And you'll be famous too, for generations to come. We'll make sure of it. So let me know afterwards which one of you is going to go. The result of his loud cries was that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. And this is the stuff of the Adi Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita, describing the advent of the Lord, which is a transcendental occasion. Those of you who have been around for either Janmashtami or Gaur Purnima know that when you wake up early on Gaur Purnima or Janmashtami morning, you're happy for no reason. Because when the Lord advents, there's a palpable sense of effusive spiritual energy. And this is what happened when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. He's Krishna himself, but he appears in Kali Yuga on schedule. But this is a special appearance of Krishna in this Kali Yuga. Normally, an avatar comes, sometimes it's an empowered jiva, but in this particular Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. It's a long story that most of you know, but he appears for his own purposes and also to spread the Yuga Dharma. But it's especially noteworthy that he is Krishna himself. And here was his mission compacted into a couple of sentences. So the first thing he taught for this mission is chant Hare Krishna. So what's the first thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught? Chant Hare Krishna. And the second thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught was teach others. So what's the second thing? Teach others. Now we're going to have a quiz. What's the first thing? Chant Hare Krishna. Second. Teach others. First. Chant Hare Krishna. Second. Teach others. First. Chant Hare Krishna. First. Second. First. Second. First. Second. So I should be able to wake you up at 1 o'clock in the morning tomorrow and say, what is our mission? And you'll say, chant Hare Krishna. Teach others. That is correct. That is our mission. Chant Hare Krishna and teach others. It's a very simple thing. It can be passed on everywhere, and Mahaprabhu did it himself. He walked barefoot all over South India. And he went from village to village and he taught people to chant Hare Krishna. And then he said, please teach others and spread this to everybody that you can. So this is the simplicity of our movement. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda opened a marketplace. Marketing is an interesting science. It's actually, there's quantitative and qualitative reasoning skills required. What do I mean by that? It means in marketing, you learn how to measure market share, how to calculate profit points, how much to charge for a product so that you get enough profit back so you can continue your business, but you don't stifle people by too high of a price, and you position it in such a way that it's in competition with other. These sound familiar, everything like that. These are quantitative reasoning skills. And then qualitative means you have to know a little psychology, you have to know aesthetics, how it is that people are attracted in various ways to your product. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, who are pictured here, opened a marketplace. It means they're marketers. And that means they were thinking very carefully about how to make sure that everybody in the world got this product. Now, anybody who has opened an enterprise knows you start with a vision mission statement. And the mission statement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was every town and village. In other words, his vision was that every place in the world would receive this universal teaching, and that is by chanting the holy names of God congregationally, one could become purified, and that there is a goal to all that, which is to develop prema, or pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with no motive except to love him and serve him eternally. And here's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates dancing down the street of Orlando, Florida. And it's not far-fetched now, is it? Now when we think about Mahaprabhu's mission statement starting in Navadvip, and there are banana trees and there are the beautiful Ganga and so forth. But even up to the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who had asked his followers to go across the ocean, it seems unbelievable that Mahaprabhu's movement could actually spread to various places around the world, that it could actually reach the other shores and so forth. In fact, many of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas reasoned that when Mahaprabhu said every town and village, he probably just meant either Bengal or maybe India at most, but he wasn't thinking about Orlando. But now, as we can see, it's coming to pass. And we're part of that. We're part of that wave. We're in it right now. And therefore, we can take full advantage of that and think in terms of marketing. Lord Chaitanya's movement became hidden. Now, in any enterprise, and this is taught in a business school and everywhere else, that when you start something, there are going to be obstacles. For instance, when the demigods and the demons got together to churn the milk ocean, what's the first product that came out? They were seeking nectar. What did they get first? Poison, yeah. And Mahaprabhu's movement, after he had established it, soon after he left, it tapered off, because this is the nature, Lord Krishna says in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam to Sri Uddhava, of the material world is enervating. Things diminish very quickly. A lot of entropy means things degrade. And the message also can become easily lost by degrees and then completely lost. So his movement became hidden and distorted over time. But the great Bhaktivinoda Thakur revived Mahaprabhu's mission. If you sing Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajans, then you'll have an inkling for who he was. First of all, you can read them all. And if you read them all, you'll feel personally a deep sense of advancement in devotional service just from hearing his words and his humility and the Siddhanta that he taught about how to follow Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And singing his songs in Bengali is so powerful that it opens, every song opens a window to the spiritual world. This is the nature of the great acharyas, of which he is one of the greatest. He's like a powerhouse sending down the potency of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to all of us and to the world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur realized the potency of Mahaprabhu's message. He had studied all the world religions and deeply appreciates them in his writings. And when he saw Mahaprabhu's message, he said, this synthesizes all the teachings of the other great acharyas, Lord Jesus, Muhammad, and so forth. And the intention, everything perfectly put through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to bring us to the prayojana, the ultimate goal of what all these great souls were teaching. And so he restarted the marketplace of the holy name that had been begun by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda at Surabhi Kunj. You can go to that place and feel electrified. You go there and chant Hare Krishna and you'll feel the mercy of the holy Dham in that place, especially if you go there with the intention of praying to become empowered to market the holy name all over the world, which is a good thing to do. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was engaged in writing many books. He also opened the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world. And then he also prayed for a child in his family that would be a great personality to help spread the movement all over the world. He called a ray of Vishnu. And he also predicted that a great personality would soon appear in the world who would take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and bring together the Europeans, Americans, Japanese. He had this vision that they would all be dancing together. And actually, around 1974, when devotees went all together, we leased a jetliner. Can you imagine that? Pick you up here in Dallas. It was all devotees. We leased a jet. Mahendra Prabhu, he organized it. Back then you could get a jetliner. You just call up Hertz and say, and we all got on, some in California, some in New York, and we flew to Calcutta. And we got off there, and we met up with our German God brothers and sisters and devotees from all over the world. And then we, at one point, hundreds of us went chanting down the road in Mayapur, Bhaktisiddhanta Road, and we realized his vision, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's vision, had been realized, that Europeans, Americans, Japanese, all over the world. And on a morning walk, when Prabhupada saw that the various devotees from around the world greeting him coming back from his walk, he commented, he said that I have helped to bring them here. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he can deliver them by his mercy. Prabhupada has so much regard for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And to many of us, it's very obvious that Prabhupada was that personality who helped to realize that vision of spreading it all over the world. Meanwhile, you'll visit in Navadvip Dham the samadhis and bhajan kutirs. That's the place where they worshipped and also where they were, where their bodies were entombed after they left. Of the great souls like Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who continued the powerful holy name that had been brought by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even as the movement had diminished, there were great sadhus behind the scenes who continued the tradition, but it wasn't overt. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was that ray of Vishnu who appeared in the family of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he expanded the marketplace all over India, Burma, and England. Of course, the envoy he sent to England was apparently not successful. They went there and came back. Prabhupada speaks about it in the Adi Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how their intention wasn't properly aligned. They were thinking more about becoming famous for going there and then coming back. But it shows that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was forward-looking, and he wanted this to expand to the various continents of the world so everyone could take advantage. So, Abhay Charanaravinda, our founder Acharya, now A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada was a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and he was a grahastha. And most of the main disciples were brahmacharis or sannyasis. And the first time that Prabhupada met his spiritual master was in Ultadunga in Calcutta. You can go there and visit. ISKCON just purchased that property finally. So it's a place of pilgrimage. You can go. The place, actually the rooftop where Prabhupada first met his guru. Very reluctantly he went because he had seen a lot of so-called sadhus, holy men, in his childhood, and he didn't think much of them. So his friend dragged him to go there. And when Srila Prabhupada, then Abai, offered his obeisances to Guru, before he could even get up from offering obeisances, his Guru started telling him, you should spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And he took it into his heart at that time. He kept that. After 11 years, he took initiation, but he was married. He had kids, he had a business. He was not able to fully manifest the kind of service that he wanted to do for his Guru, but he kept it in his heart. And this is a good lesson, that you have to remain determined and hold the order in your heart that you get from your Guru in the Sampradaya. And when the time is right, you can manifest it. So Prabhupada did that. Now, Prabhupada had gone to meet his Guru at Radhakund and asked him how can I serve you? And his Guru told him, if you ever get money, print books. In fact, we were just there in Calcutta as part of our yatra, and that was the best part when we went to Calcutta. And we went to the Bhag Bazaar, the temple. That was the flagship temple that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta established in Calcutta. And I wanted to see the printing press, because that was the prized object of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta there. He had the deities, and next to the deities he had the printing press, because he called it the Brihat Madanga, the greater Madanga. This Madanga can be heard for a few blocks, but the printing press can be heard all over the world. It increases the volume, the written kirtan. And so I couldn't see it. It wasn't anywhere there in the temple, so we had to ask a lot of people. And finally, one of the senior devotees there agreed to take a couple of us. We had 100 devotees there, but it took a few of us up to the museum that they're building there, to the top floor. It was still under construction. And they took us in, no photos allowed. But there was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's printing press. I offered my obeisances spontaneously, and then when I walked around to the back side of the printing press, I saw that it was manufactured. That printing press came from a company from Cleveland, Ohio. And that really did it for me, because I saw that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was scouring the earth to find the best technology of the time to print. And he printed like anything. He was printing periodicals, magazines, books, sometimes 2 a day, 2 different editions a day that were being cranked out. And he very much encouraged his disciples to increase more and more the distribution of books. So you can see the kind of mission that our founder Acharya for ISKCON picked up from his Guru was this mood of printing books and distributing them widely. And when did Abhay, Charanaravinda, asked his Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, what can I do? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta expressed that we've built this gigantic temple. It was a modern marvel at the time of architecture and opulence and building and so forth. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wasn't satisfied, because he said as soon as the devotees got in that building, they started arguing over who got which room, who had more status and so forth. And he used to say we were better off in Ultadunga. Ultadunga is a slum in Calcutta, and that's where they had their first place. So if you're starting off at a preaching center that's in some ratty area someplace, don't feel discouraged, because great things start from little closets, from little garages, from the worst part of town and so forth. It's the spirit that's there that counts, that actually expands. And you can get yourself into a big, huge building and then ruin the whole mission by not having this compassionate spirit following the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was in that mood, and he told our Srila Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. So what did Prabhupada do? He took that, everything that he heard from his Guru when he came to America. What did he bring with him? Books. That's what he bought. He didn't have any money at the time. He's completely dependent on Krishna and just brought books. This is a bona fide activity, just going anywhere in the world and just bring books with you and depend on Krishna. It's a very quick way to realize your connection with the Supreme Personality of God in your heart. So if you go out by yourself, not recommending it, but I'm just saying, if you happen to, and you're only depending on book distribution, you'll find that the whole world opens up to you by Krishna's grace. So Srila Prabhupada came, look at this picture. He's leading the charge with his Bhagavatam. I imagine him at the masthead of at the front of the Jaladuta, coming into the harbor with the book, like leading the charge. And here he comes. And incidentally, Prabhupada had these 3 volumes from the first canto of the Bhagavatam when he came. This is the pamphlet for it that he made, and it says 60 volumes. He only had 3 volumes at the time. And it also said all over the world for scientific knowledge of God. He didn't have any money or connection or anything, but he was thinking all over the world. And he had a plan, and he reiterated this to us over and over again, and you'll find it in his purports and his letters and so forth. I've tried to consolidate a lot of these teachings in the book called Our Family Business that I wrote a couple years ago and is hanging around here somewhere. By printing books, he wanted to inject Krishna consciousness into society. And he wanted everyone to be immersed in the inundation of love of Godhead. This was Lord Chaitanya's plan. This is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Srila Prabhupada said, this is my plan. I like this idea of distributing books and preaching. That is Lord Chaitanya's plan. That's how it would be executed. So regarding Sankirtan and book distribution is also chanting. It is spoken kirtan. Just see. Here they appeared. That's the book. It's got a picture of Prabhupada on the front. This was in Butler, Pennsylvania when he first arrived, and he's looking. The picture is priceless because you see, to me, he's contemplating how to take over the world with Krishna consciousness. That look in his eye, and he's looking into his first volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And here, Prabhupada's talking about how that this is written kirtan. So when you're distributing books, you're doing kirtan, you're just doing it louder, because the books go farther. They also penetrate places that you can't reach with a Harinam party. Like you can't go in the White House, Prabhupada said. But he noted that one of the devotees early on sold books to the daughter and son of the president, and the books went right in the White House. So Prabhupada said, print as many books in as many languages as possible and distribute throughout the whole world. So we have books in many different languages. He noted that there were various groups like the communists at the time who were very effectively spreading their movement through literature distribution in India. And as Nityananda Prabhu mentioned, there are other groups around the world who have organized themselves around literature distribution, like the Jehovah's Witness, who are expert at distributing their literature like a Watchtower. Do you have a copy? I don't have mine with me, but I'll show you later. Watchtowers proliferated in many languages all over the world, 239 countries, 595 languages, 46 million copies last year. BTG, we did a couple thousand.
Per month?
What?
It says per month.
Okay, per month. That makes it even better, right? Thank you. I meant to do that. Back to Godhead, we're at like 5,000 copies or something. Give me a break. Come on. We need to really focus and organize globally, and we need brilliant minds and those who would like to dedicate their lives to expanding this peerless knowledge all over the world for the benefit of people, not just now, but in generations to come. Because sometimes people can't appreciate it in the moment. Right now, there's a lot of chaos, maybe too much opulence people still have here in the Western world, but there will come a time when they'll be more focused and be able to appreciate the gift that Srila Prabhupada gave to the world through us distributing his books. Here's the Gideon's Network. They're looking in big ways to dominate the world through mass distribution of Bibles. Well, I wouldn't say dominate the world, but to spread the message of Lord Jesus. But they're very organized, and they have like business meetings. They have very organized ways of getting millions and millions of Bibles out to people all over the world in 200 countries, more than 100 languages. They're targeting 120 million by 2020 and so forth. And so we've got the opportunity, we've been given an order to carry this on, especially literature distribution. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Prabhupada's purports. He said that the direct order of the Lord is a manifestation of his internal energy. And this particular energy is the means of seeing the Lord face to face. It means if you're insignificant, you're nobody, doesn't matter where you live, who you are, if you hear about an instruction given by Lord Chaitanya coming down through the parampara and you just pick it up. There are general instructions and specific instruction. It doesn't matter which one you take. And if you take the general instruction by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread the movement all over the world, you're connected to the internal energy. If you want to know how to come to the highest perfectional stage of devotional service, it's by picking up the order. And everything happens by Krishna's grace when you do that miraculously, if you dedicate yourself to it. So here's one thing Prabhupada said, so kindly help me, this is my request. That's there for anybody to pick up in any generation, that kindly help me. And if you take that to heart, say, I'm going to help Prabhupada to distribute books. That was his heartfelt desire, his guru's heartfelt desire. His guru's heartfelt desire, it's Lord Chaitanya's heartfelt desire. I'm going to make it my heartfelt desire. Then you're connected in a very profound way and you'll make advancement. More evidence. Prabhupada said these things all the time. I want that you, all my students, shall very vigorously try for this book distribution. And of course we have Lord Krishna on record saying there's nobody more dear to me in this world than somebody who takes the risk of going out and teaching Krishna consciousness to others. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the open order, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. So Prabhupada writes about this in his purports in the Bhagavatam. He said, everyone should become a guru devotee. What kind of devotee? Guru devotee. Yeah, guru devotee means focused on the mission and developing all the qualities of maturity and devotional service so that you can serve others as best as possible. So Prabhupada also said that if you will get superior strength and knowledge about Krishna consciousness just by this attempt. So when we go out for book distribution, we make the attempt, correct? Say yes. Yes. So when we make that attempt, we get superior strength and knowledge in Krishna consciousness. The reason we're going out, first and foremost, is for our own purification. Why are we going out? Start there. Don't worry about results of any other kind. Just focus on the fact that this is the right thing to do. And even if you do it a little bit, it doesn't matter. You can go out just a tiny little bit, and I guarantee you, when you cross the threshold of the doorway of the temple or your house or get out of your car with the intention, your chin trembling out of fear that, I don't know if I can do this. So what? At least you're trying. And if you try, nothing else matters. You're going to get superior strength and knowledge in Krishna consciousness. I guarantee you. Because you want to live on the edge. Don't live in your comfort zone. That's boring and it's nowhere. And you should feel uncomfortable when you're in your comfort zone. If you're in your comfort zone, you should think, I'm a loser. Let me get outside my comfort zone. You should feel comfortable outside your comfort zone. And one of the ways to do it most readily is book distribution. I mean, I've been distributing books for I don't know how long now. But every time I go out, it's a new life's experience. I have to renew myself. I have to get myself ready. And especially if people are watching me and say, okay, let's see you do it. I'm going to Krishna. Yeah, let's see me do it. You have to live on that edge. That okay, the magic, you can't take it for granted. You have to really earn it by living the life. And when you come back, to the temple, to the place where you live a sanctified life, then you have to dig deep within your practice to find Krishna, to find your own sincerity. And if you live in that, in these two worlds, where you're going out to distribute and then coming back and imbibing what you're teaching to others, you'll be in perfect balance. And you'll be able to apply across the various periods of your life. And there are difficult periods in life. There's no question about it. And nobody said there wouldn't be. And if they did, then it was some song you heard somewhere, and it was a lie. But there's going to be a lot of trouble, and you're going to go through difficult periods in your life. And the way to get across it is to stay connected at a very high level to devotional service. One of the best ways to do that is stay connected with book distribution, Sankirtan, and and really dig into your sadhana, like chanting Hare Krishna with really deep sincerity, and also reading Prabhupada's books a lot. How much?
A lot.
Yeah, that's how much you have to hear and chant if you want to get a taste. You have to hear and chant a lot. Okay, so here's a rapid way to make spiritual advancement, book distribution. And now I'm going to talk about the 4 laws of book distribution, because if you follow these laws, I guarantee you'll be successful anywhere and any time. And these laws are easy to follow. They're simple. They're simple to follow. And if you follow them individually or collectively, you'll have great success in expanding your book distribution, and your life will become abundant with happiness and resources of all kinds coming in from directions you never could imagine. By the way, you know, our movement, we're meant to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one of the best ways to do that is to try to continually increase your own practice of sadhana and your preaching, especially we're talking about book distribution. And every time you take a risk to increase a little bit more, you may wonder, how are we going to do it? We did it last time because this and that happened, right? But this time, we don't have this and that. You know, that rich guy moved away, you know, he's now in Silicon Valley, and all these things. But you have to keep trying, and you'll notice that if you do it again and again, Lord Chaitanya will always come in and save you and help you reach your next goal in book distribution. And that's where your faith becomes stronger and stronger, by taking shelter again and again, taking risks for Lord Chaitanya. Before I go into the 4 laws, I just take a few reflections, and that is anything that you heard so far that stuck in your mind about the presentation. Like one phrase, we've got Tattva-Vit Prabhu back here. We're going to get you the microphone in 7 seconds or less, or your money back from this seminar. Tattva-Vit Prabhu is right here. Right there.
I liked hearing that you went to the Bhagbazar Temple and into the new museum that they're building, and then went up to the top floor and saw the original printing press. And what struck me as you said you spontaneously paid your obeisances, because I remember that I was reading recently, just a week ago, I was reading some old letters and descriptions of Prabhupada, and he did that when he visited the ISKCON Press in New York.
Boston.
Was it? Yeah.
Beacon Street.
I think it was after they moved back down to New York.
Okay, so he did it again.
He paid his obeisances, and the devotees were so surprised that he did that.
Yeah.
He paid his obeisances to the prince.
Yeah, and the first building purchased by ISKCON, it wasn't, ISKCON wasn't opulent in the old days, kids. We used to have to walk to school in the snow. No, it was very difficult. The devotees didn't have a lot of money. They sold BTGs for 25 cents and so forth. And they never knew where the next money was going to come from. They lived hand to mouth and just barely paid the rent. But Prabhupada wanted to purchase one place in America. You remember his guru told him, if you ever get money, print books. So what did Prabhupada do? He had the devotees who were situated in various places like New York and San Francisco, Boston, and Santa Fe, Montreal. They were all working to collect whatever they could and save something so they could buy a place. Why did Prabhupada want the place? He wanted to put the printing press in. He had designs on purchasing the printing press and putting it in a place where he could start printing his own books. Meanwhile, he sent out 6 devotees in New York City to apprentice in the printing industry. One of them is Vaikuntanath Prabhu, an old devotee from 1967. He's still in San Francisco. And he talks about how they would trade places in apprenticing in the various aspects of publishing, printing books, so that they'd know how to do it when Prabhupada got the printing press. So he had all this orchestrated. And when they finally found a place on Beacon Street in Boston, They pooled all the money from across the country and they bought that place. And Prabhupada had Narnarayan Prabhu come there and reinforce the floor so they could bring in this enormously heavy printing press and put it there without the floor caving in. And at that time also, Prabhupada came in and offered obeisances to the printing press and said the Prema Dwani prayers to his spiritual master, appreciating him. So I felt that when I went in that whole connection of that mindset of being connected to the purpose of the previous acharyas through the printing press. Now, of course, we have books available here, there, and everywhere in many, many different languages, which is really a miracle. It's really a miracle because books are not so easy to print. Writing a book is like conquering an empire. And once you've finished writing it, then the real fun starts. Actually getting it into the right font and the right paper, the whole thing, and published in the right place is a monumental task. And Prabhupada did it again and again and again and again, and not just in one language, but in multiple languages. So it's actually a miracle. A couple more reflections. Yes, Prabhu.
I can speak loud.
Yeah, I know you can, but the people online you got to touch that to your chin so they can hear you.
Prabhuji, you were showing another company. I was thinking, how come they have such a big number? Is it because they started a lot before we did, or they are doing it at a very rapid pace?
Well, I mean, we could make a lot of excuses about why they're ahead of us, but I don't think we should. We should just try to catch up. But I'll tell you a story. I was in Tokyo, Japan a few years ago, and I stopped to get my copy of Watchtower. And I went to the Govinda's restaurant there with my friend Satyadev. It was kind of busy, but I was flipping through the Watchtower, and I was commenting to my friend Satyadev. I said, of all the different Christian denominations, I find it that the Jehovah's Witnesses are the least receptive because they're very calcified in the way they look at the teachings of the Bible and so forth. Meanwhile, the crowd started to clear out, and the temple president who ran the restaurant brought over this man, this Japanese man. He said, I want you to meet this man. He comes here every week for prasadam. He's reading Prabhupada's books. And by the way, he's a Jehovah's Witness. I was in an enviable position. We said, hey, see, I read Watchtower. And so we started talking to him, and he said two things that I remember. He said, one is, I really appreciate your spiritual master's books. He said, because I detect from reading them that you don't have any material motivation for serving. This is all about serving God without asking anything in return. And the second thing he said, I know that you people are very sincere. And we said, how do you know that? He said, because you're so disorganized, but you persevere anyway. And then he said, but don't worry, we were like that 100 years ago also. Yeah, time has something to do with it, but actually intention is very important. Being focused on the goal of doing it, and it needn't take hundreds of years with the resources that we have. In fact, you'll read in my book that there was a spike in book distribution starting in 1973 that continued precipitously all the way to the beginning of the 1980s, that was unparalleled in the history of the world. And we were distributing over 1 million copies of books a week worldwide were going out at a certain point. We're holding at a fairly steady pace around the world, but through organization, for instance, here in North America, just in the last 6 years, we've been able to triple book distribution. So we can do it on a worldwide basis also, and we are working on a worldwide campaign right now to unite devotees through the principles of book distribution and also by organization, because we want to inundate the world with this transcendental literature as much as possible. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's start. We'll go back to the laws of book distribution. This is valuable because these are easy to carry around with you, and we need a centering device, something to keep pulling us back so that we can stay on track. And these laws will do this for you. And so if you get a tattoo on the way home, you can get these 4 on your arm. And then you'll always remember them. So, for us, the first is your sadhana must be strong. What's number one? Your sadhana must be strong. Second is you must get books. You must get books. The third is the more you show, the more you sell. The more you show, the more you sell. That's the one we always say twice. Let's say it one more time. The more you show, the more you sell. And number four is you must organize. You must organize. Okay, now I'll break them down for you here. For the first one is your sadhana must be strong. And there are three words Prabhupada uses repeatedly throughout his teachings. I've just strung them together in a little necklace for you. Strict, serious, and sincere. They mean slightly different things. I wrote about it in my book. And strict, serious, and sincere sadhana means that you'll get a taste. So you actually have to try. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gives this example. You sign up for a gym, probably around January 1st. And you go to the gym and then you notice, you do a workout or two, and then you think go to the gym. I like to go to the gym. I want to be healthy, but it's a lot of work lifting weights. So I'll just go in and move my arms without the weights. So this is just like becoming too familiar with your sadhana and just going through the motions. This is also called niyamagraha, which means that you're practicing, but you're not really intent on going deeply. I call it the better side of sadhana is called inspirational sadhana. That take it upon yourself to get some inspiration out of your sadhana every single day. Don't leave it to chance, but put yourself fully in it so that you actually have communion with Krishna through his holy names when you chant. Find your sincerity before you start chanting, and be aware of the fact that, or at least go into the chanting feeling that I don't have anything, and that I'm begging Krishna, begging, please give me something, anything, because I'm bereft. Everyone else got something, I didn't get anything. And unless I'm trying with desperation to get something, then I may, over time, just think that this is just a repetition of something. It doesn't mean anything, because I'm not seeing it, I'm not experiencing it. So it's a very short life, take it from me. I mean, I was in this room when it was a brahmachari ashram a few years back. How many years was it, Prabhu?
42.
No, come on, that long? Oh my God. Anyway, we used to live in here in this room as a brahmachari ashram. I was a little baby. And now, it's just like 5 minutes later, and here we are here. And life does go by very quickly. So every day is an opportunity for the sadhana. And if you skip it, we don't skip days. Joshua Hevitz, the famous violinist, said, if I don't practice one day, I notice it. If I don't practice 2 days, my teacher notices it. If I don't practice 3 days, all my critics and the whole world notices it. And we can't afford to miss one day. And really, who knows how much time we have. We should really try to get a taste. So make it your priority in life to get a taste. When you have a taste, then you can distribute the overflow. The overflow comes out quite naturally because our existential situation is that although we're ensconced in matter, when we taste something and we understand I'm actually being maintained by Krishna at every moment in the most profound and beautiful way, then we become effusive in and distributing the joy that we feel in our hearts. And that's what Sankirtan is. It's a way of life, actually. It's feeling yourself fully dependent on Krishna and ecstatic to be alive, to serve at every moment. And that feeling then is what you distribute to other people. That's what they want. And when you go out for Sankirtan, people aren't buying a book from you. They're buying the countenance that they see in you. And when you are exuding spiritual rays coming from your heart that is melting by chanting the holy name, they'll stop and talk to you, and they'll want to know what you have. They don't even care what it is. They just want what you have. That's what we're distributing. It's a way of life. It's not about selling an object. It's about being in contact with Krishna through his holy names and through the practice of Krishna consciousness. That's overflow, and That can only be had by those who are strict, serious, and sincere, diligent in the practice of Krishna consciousness. The rarest thing, and that commodity, Rupa Goswami says, if it's available somewhere, run for it. Drop everything else and run for it, because nothing else is valuable in this world. And the only price to get it is intense desire to have it. In fact, you'll notice that in any discipline. Anybody who's any good at anything has had an intense desire for it. And the only thing worth having in this world really is Krishna consciousness, our relationship with Krishna. And to get it, we have to be fully focused, and that has to develop into what's called lalyam, or greed. Just, we have to have it more than anything else. And if we can have that, then we have the wherewithal to distribute Krishna consciousness to others. Chapter day of Bhagavad Gita. This is something that Prabhupada asked everyone to do. Please encourage the others to read this Bhagavad Gita, at least one chapter a day. Bhagavad Gita as it is should be read by all of my students, at least one chapter a day. We have an organization called CHAD, Chapter a Day, that's what it stands for. There are thousands of devotees around the world who every day chant at least one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, at least the Sanskrit, or at least just the English. But don't astray from the Bhagavad Gita. This is our spiritual intelligence. Don't go out. Have you ever shopped when you're hungry? Don't do it. It's ancient wisdom. Don't shop when you're hungry. I tried it a couple times, not on purpose, but I got in big trouble. And similarly, don't go out in the world before you've chanted your Bhagavad Gita. If you go out without fortifying yourself, without feeling a little inner satisfaction and intelligence aligned with the teachings of Krishna's intelligence through the Bhagavad Gita, then you'll look at the world and you'll buy stuff you don't need. And that can be real trouble. And I'm not just talking vacuum cleaners. You can end up with all kinds of stuff and all kinds of trouble. So avoid it. Chant one chapter of Bhagavad Gita at least every day. And also regiment your reading. If somebody walks in here with a bead bag with no counter beads on it, what are you going to think? Seriously, what do you think? You'll think CIA. Because, who is this person infiltrating us? A bead bag with no counter beads? Give me a break, right? So, in a similar way, why wouldn't you have a counting system for reading Prabhupada's books? I should be able to wake you up at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, when are you going to finish the Bhagavatam? And you'll tell me. Because you know. In our system, you can go to our app. It's from the App Store. It's available through iOS. We also have Android, which is down right now for some reason. But we also have it on paper form. You can decide how many pages to read a day to finish the Bhagavatam or any other of Prabhupada's books in a given amount of time. And if you know that, when you wake up in the morning, your day is going to be a completely different experience than if you just randomly think, someday I might read Prabhupada's books. So if you read Prabhupada's books every day, then you'll become strong like Ricky Masano's rat. And if you don't know who Ricky Masano is, I'll tell you really quickly. When I was in 3rd grade, we had a science fair, and one of my friends, Ricky Masano, he was one of the scrawniest kids in the school because he only ate Wonder Bread, which said that it builds strong bodies 9 ways? 12 ways, thank you, Nicole. But I think it was a lie, looking at Ricky. So his science project was, he got 2 white laboratory rats that weighed the same amount. Pretty good for a 3rd grader. And I think it was 3rd grade, maybe 5th, I don't know. But anyway, he had them in a cage, and he fed one of them the diet that he had, Wonder Bread. And the other one, he gave all the best food you could possibly get for a rat. I mean, and after 3 months, I came to his house. He said, "You're not going to believe it." And one of them looked just like Ricky. And the other one was super rat. He was like, bring it on. He was ready to take on the world, this rat. And Ricky changed his diet after that. But he won the science fair that year by showing his documentation and how he had raised these 2 rats. It was amazing. And it's the same thing. If your reading is about like Ricky's little scrawny rat, if you read like Ricky, the former Ricky Masano, you're going to be scrawny, skinny, little spiritually a spiritual being. It'll be very difficult for you to maintain yourself, not succumbing to the petty desires of this world. But if you fortify yourself, get a spiritual diet together, really get it together every day. Eat the right kinds of things. Have your reading schedule down so that you're constantly moving forward. Then you'll become strong, and then you have something that you can distribute. You'll become valuable to yourself and to others. Be a sage page by page, if you scan that fast enough. So what's the first law of book distribution?
Your sadhana must be strong.
That is correct. Thank you very much. Your sadhana must be strong. And the second one is you must get books. Say it.
You must get books.
Now in the military, when you first go into boot camp, they teach you how to speak in a very militaristic way. So when they say, when they ask you, drill sergeant asks you a question, then you answer, sir, yes, sir. Say, sir, yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, you'll be kicked out of the military. Say it a little better. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so show this one, number 2. Not for all of them, just for number 2, because you're going to scare my cat. Not my cat, it's Christian's cat. Okay, so when I say number 2, the second law of book distribution, then the second law of book distribution is? Okay, you'll be kicked out. Try it again. 1, 2. That's right. Get books. And now, it's okay. We're over with this one. So what's going to happen is, we have done double-blind studies about this second one, scientifically studied. We've gone to some of the major universities around the world, Ivy League even, and done studies, and we discovered that you can't distribute books that you don't have. That's why this is a law. So the fact is, when you get books and you have them available, miracles will happen, especially if you make them visible, and we'll talk about that in the next one. But the fact is, it's a miracle that we have them in the first place. That during the time of Rupa Goswami, every book was copied by hand on palm leaves using a stylus. It was painstaking work, and a lot of time there were mistakes. They had to start over again. We have an abundance of books. They're pristine. They come in cases. You can get them in 2 days. Why would you not invest in books? Why would you not have them in your car, in your house, and ready to distribute to people all over the world? So if you get the books, then they'll be ready to go. And look at what books we have. Even I brought with me Vietnamese books because I happen to like Vietnamese people, and I heard there's some here in town. And we're going to go meet them. And if I have Vietnamese books I offer to the Vietnamese people, what do you think will happen? They'll take them. And what to speak of Farsi, Japanese, we have in all these different languages that you can distribute. Here it is in Vietnamese, a language card that we use to distribute books, which makes it so easy. You can download any of the languages that we have on our website, and then you can use the language card. In fact, that's how we did it in Orissa. We cracked the code. You want to see how we cracked the code?
Yes.
Okay, so when we were in Orissa, I was trying to figure out how to distribute all these books within 5 days. So one day we were in a Harinam. Actually, it was a few years ago in Alalanath. And we were having this rip-roaring Harinam, and a man stopped on his motorcycle and he started screaming at us. And I was thinking, what are we doing wrong? We're chanting the holy name and stuff. I mean, he was furious. And then finally, some other guy came along who spoke English, and he explained to us, you're doing Harinam with your shoes on. In the Dham, in Orissa, you can't do that. I mean, the guy was incensed. So then I caught on to the fact that you take your shoes off, and immediately people recognize you as a civilized person there. So now we started distributing books, so we go up to somebody, and we'd just first hand them a book. No, excuse me. First of all, we walk up to somebody and just kick off our shoes. As soon as we kick off our shoes, they'd kick off their shoes. And then we'd hand them a book, a lollipop, and a sticker, and then the language card. And we didn't say a word. In fact, as soon as we hand all these things to them, if you know Iyengar Yoga, we stand in mountain pose. And just don't move an inch. And then everything else happens by itself. So with these language cards, you don't have to know the language. You just have to have one little trigger where you can introduce yourself to somebody with one or two words. Like if you meet somebody who speaks Mandarin and you say, ni hao, and then they'll, ni hao, you'll become their best friend. And then you can hand them the book and the language card, and Sanjay's your uncle. So we have French, you can say bonjour, Chinese ni hao, ciao, hola, Swedish hey, all these different languages. Here I am at a Vietnamese mall, hanging out with my pals at the, Starbucks. They were all having a Starbucks coffee, and I sat down to show them the Vietnamese books and the language cards, and now we're all best friends, and they all have Vietnamese books. Here I am with a Muslim mullah, and he came from Afghanistan. And I said, Salam alaikum, alaikum salam madava kifelaka alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. And he said, do you pray 5 times a day? And I said, 16. And he came over, he embraced me. And then I showed him the Farsi book we had, and he freaked out. I mean, he was my best friend. He didn't want me to leave. He wanted me to come to Afghanistan with him. And I guarantee you that book is sitting somewhere in Afghanistan right now. And, these books going all over the world, who knows what's going to happen? One book can actually change a whole nation at the right time and place and circumstance. They're so powerful. And when we make connections with people, it's so satisfying. This is spreading the worldwide mission of Krishna consciousness. So we have books in many languages, and by the way, you get extra points for distributing the books I've pointed up here, put on the screen here. So number 1 law is? Number 2, let me cover her ears. Okay, and the number 3 law is, the more you show, the more you sell. We don't say it really loud like the other one, but we say it twice all the time. So that is correct. Now, little jivas floating around the universe and just looking for stuff. That's what jivas are doing all the time. They're just looking around to find something nice, and someone puts up a sign that says, drink Coca-Cola. In fact, their current ad, if I'm not incorrect, haven't checked recently, but it was, pour out a bottle of happiness. What is it now? Open happiness. And so little jiva sees a sign, it's a Coca-Cola, it looked kind of bubbly, and it's going into a glass, looks frosty, glass looks frosty. So that Coca-Cola is going into the glass, little jiva sees it, and he stops at the store, and jiva grabs a Coca-Cola. And then he opens it up, and every cell in his body is going, don't put that stuff in here. And meanwhile, little jiva says, no, I saw the sign. Clunk, 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 clunk. Teeth fall out, liver gets corroded. Hope Coca-Cola company's not watching. We'll get a lawsuit. But the fact is, little jiva thinks up all these kind of stupid things because he sees them around the universe, and then he thinks, yeah, maybe I'll do it. And the reason is that the jiva is tatastha shakti. And tatastha shakti means open to suggestion. Every living entity is open to suggestion. All you have to do is go up and say, Jiva, come here, I want to tell you something. This is good, this is bad. And after a while, Jiva goes, yes, you're right, this is good, this is bad. And if you tell him the right stuff, then little jiva is benefited. And if you tell him the wrong stuff, then little jiva goes to hell. So the more you show, the more you sell. If you're showing the books, then like these 2 ladies, girls, they walked over and immediately they started perusing the books because they were there. I was amazed. I took that picture because it said, okay, if the books weren't there, what are the chances they'd come over and look at them? Pop quiz. Right? Isn't it? If they weren't there, what are the chances they would have come and seen them? 0. Correct. That's there. So if you don't have books and you don't show them, then there's no chance you're going to sell them. But as soon as you take them out of the boxes, anywhere you go, and you just make them visible in any kind of innovative way, you're going to find little jivas are going to come over and look at them. They're going to ask you questions, and they're going to take them. I had a couple of boxes. I was by myself. I went down to Santa Cruz on the street one day, and I got out of the car. I had a little wheelie device, and I put the books on the sidewalk, and I took my key, to open the tape part, and I just open it. And when you open the box, it goes pop. That sound when the tape breaks? It's a beautiful sound. So I open it, And I looked up and there was a guy standing over me. He goes, "What you got in there?" I said, "Books on yoga meditation, shows you how to get free from stress." He goes, "I'll take 2 of them." And I just realized anywhere you go, pop open the box, some little jiva is going to come floating by and say, "Yeah, I'll take that." And of course, there are many different ways to show these books. You could do it digitally, you could do it in person, and even if you don't know what the heck you're doing, if you just stand there and hold the book up, eventually somebody's going to come over and say, "What are you doing?" And they'll take it. But you have to make it visible. The more you show, the more you sell. We go door to door. This is a age-old process. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. How'd you like it if Advaitacharya showed up at your door? How about Haridas Thakur? How about Lord Nityananda? Knock, knock, knock. There they are. They did it. So this is one of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, going door to door. His generals, his best devotees, they're incarnations of God. They're going out and distributing books door to door. You can't have any more fun than this in this world. There's nothing more exciting than going door to door and showing transcendental literature to people. It's interesting, it's funny, it's invigorating. I mean, it's everything that everyone's looking for in going to see some stupid movie with cars crashing into each other and blowing up. It's all here in the door to door. And, anyone who sets up shop anywhere, here's the police buying books. This Mataji has this little book stand. She sells thousands of books every month. You can go to events, like this pumpkin festival in the autumn we go to. We finally realized why we were so successful here, because look at the book and look at the pumpkin. Huh? See what I'm saying? It's an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, then you got Diwali events. And here was our smart boxes. If you're the kind of person who likes to distribute books while you're sleeping, this is for you. Because all you have to do is go around and put these little boxes out all over town. We have about 150 of them out all over Silicon Valley. And the devotee just drives around and picks up the cash. If you're a little weak in stature, bring some strong people with you to carry all the cash. And then just replenish the boxes, and people come, because little jiva comes and is walking through the store. Why do you think they put all the gum and the stupid magazines in the front while you're standing there? Huh? Candy bars, gum, and what are those magazines?
Globe, Esquire.
Esquire. They're sitting right there where you're standing, and it just takes about 10 seconds where you're bored waiting for the person to hurry up and pay for their stuff, and you go, "Okay, I'll have that too." So when you put the smart box in any store, people are going to come over and they take the books and they put the money in the box. That means showing. Smart tables. You set up a table anywhere and people are going to come over and have a look to see what you have. Kids Sankirtan is huge. We have 150 kids that go out. Some of them are 16 years old and they've been going out since they were age 0. That means they were in the womb. And then they came out and they said, "Let's go on Sankirtan." And these kids, it's better than getting an MBA. Way better. They're smarter. They know how to face rejection, which nobody else in the world knows how to do. They get a rejection letter for one book they put in. They start crying and they get suicidal. These kids are hard like nails because they've been rejected so many times. And they know how to deal with it. And this is how you grow a leader, is show them how to do Sankirtan. So kids Sankirtan is huge. And when the kids go out, everybody wants to go out. And vice versa. Our kids, I'm so impressed with them, and there are many communities that are doing that, like ISV, and also now we have in London, under Vrindarika and Divyanam, they're expanding the Sankirtan there, especially kids Sankirtan, Vrindarika, Ramai, and what happens is the kids start going out, then the parents go out, it's time together, they can all be together on Sankirtan, and it's phenomenal to see them growing up and developing in all these special skills. Actually, I took five-year-olds out about 10 years ago just to see what would happen. So I was going door to door, and it was actually really amazing. I had some parental help also because I couldn't handle five-year-olds on my own. But then, we went door to door together to distribute books. And first store we went to, the door wasn't opening right away. Somebody was fiddling with the handle, and then finally we saw that it was a shut-in. I think a patient. Somebody had maybe senility or something like that, and there was a a nurse with her. So the nurse didn't want her to open the door, but the patient opened the door finally. And we showed the book, and the patient grabbed the book, and the nurse tried to push it back, and then the patient was pulling the book, and finally the book went inside, and the door closed, and it latched. And the kids went, yay! I mean, it's exciting. And like, they're looking, where do you see that anywhere? And what does it mean? You know, there's a lot of metaphorical things you can pull out of that. And you know, it's a moving experience. Just thinking about the whole scenario. You don't see that anywhere else until you go on Sankirtan and get on the front line and actually see it for yourself. That's life. That's excitement. That's growth. That's oxygen. And then we went to the next place, and there was a picket fence, white picket fence, around this little house. And there was a lady standing on her front porch. She saw me wearing a dhoti. She saw all these kids. And she saw me holding books. She looks at me, looks at the kids, and she goes, oh no. She said, I'm a Christian, I'm not interested. And the kids had no idea what that meant. So they charged through the front gate, and I'm standing there going, I got nothing to do with this. And they surrounded her, and they hold the book up, and they're showing her all the stuff. They say, here's Krishna, here's a cow, and this is the spiritual world, and everything. Like she looks back at me, and she goes, all right, how much is it? And I thought, this is going to work. So from then on, we had this kids Sankirtan that starts from the cradle all the way up till, you know, the kids decide. And it's been very, very successful all over the world. So we highly encourage kids Sankirtan. And that's one of our newest kids, isn't that? It's Kunjari out there distributing books. I mean, look at people's reactions when the kids are distributing books. It's otherworldly. It's fantastic. So Prabhupada also talked about sets of books. He said he wanted every respectable person to have a full set of Bhagavatams and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Tom Hopkins, the most famous salesman in the world, said, always sell in bunches like bananas. Always sell in bunches like bananas. So if you put the books together in bunches, you'll notice that devotees nowadays, you've seen on the internet, they're selling what they call Shapta Rishis and Panchatattva. They put 5 books together, 7 books together, 24 books. And then they sell them in bunches like that. Well, the Bhagavatam's already in a bunch. You can sell full sets. And you could also, actually this is a real thing, this happened. We were going door to door. They didn't want to let us in, but they finally let us in, big mistake. And we talked to them for about a half hour about the set of books. And they said, we don't have any room, which is the number one excuse, we can't fit them. So I said, well, let's look around and see if we can help you out. So I found the shelf, that's what the arrow is pointing to back there. That shelf was full of junk, old hairbrushes, games that I don't think anybody plays anymore. And I said, do you need this? And they go, no, we can get rid of it. And I said, how about this? And the lady started getting embarrassed. She goes, oh, all right. She cleaned off the shelf, we washed it down, and we put the set of Bhagavatams up there. And it's just because we went door to door. And we had the Bhagavatams. And if you have books, you get books, you show books, people will take them. And it wouldn't have happened unless we asserted ourselves, unless we knocked on the door and we waited till they let us in. And then we have projects like Go Matsya. And this means when we're presenting the full sets of books now, we present to people that opportunity. We're not selling the book, we're selling the opportunity. And so we tell people, it's your opportunity to be part of this worldwide mission to spread spiritual knowledge. And you can join Go Matsya. And by joining Go Matsya, you can keep a full set of books in your house, and then there are various levels that you can join at. And one of them includes getting your friends involved. Another one means that you can get involved in a more organizational way. And a lot of people join this organization called Go Matsya. We also have Bhadra Purnima, which is one of the best opportunities every single year. It's the day in which, when you give away a set of Bhagavatams on a golden throne, you get the gift of going back home, back to Godhead. What do you think of that? Last year, for Bhadra Purnima, we sold over 7,000 sets of Bhagavatams worldwide in one day. And then there's the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Who would take this full set of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita? Who would take it? And who else? The answer is, you can say it in form of question like Jeopardy if you want.
What is? Who is?
Who would take it? Anyone that you show the book to, there's a possibility. If you don't show it, you never know. Now look at this guy. He's from Morocco. He's a Muslim. Shraddha Devi Dasi, obviously she was at an initiation earlier. She got a dot on her forehead. She just went on Sankirtan. She was showing the full sets of Chaitanya Charitamrita door to door, which we do every year, by the way, around February time. No one can stop us. We get the books and we haul off and we start showing them. And who takes them? Everyone's potential who sees them. Because we just say, this is the most advanced, esoteric, spiritual writing in the world. And it teaches about bhakti yoga, the yoga of love and gratitude. And this guy, look at him, from Morocco. He's a Muslim. He took the full set of Chaitanya Charitamritas. It's only $100 to take the full set. He's got it in his house right now. If you want to go even bigger, this is called the Perfectly Complete Library. We put everything, all the books, kartals, madanga, every recording we can find. We even put the bookshelf. We got them from IKEA. We packaged it all together. They say, okay, for $1,008 you get everything. Who do you think takes these? Whoever you show it to. Not every single person, but if you don't show it, they won't take it. But a lot of people were surprised. As soon as we put it together, people say, oh, I need one of those for my son. He's getting married. I'll take one. I'll take two. But if you put it together and you show it, there's potential. People will take it. So innovate. Do these things. Motel Gita, devotee Mayapur Vihari Prabhu came up to me during japa one day about 5 years ago. He said, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt your japa, but I got an idea. I said, let's hear it. He said, let's put Bhagavad Gita's in all the motels, hotels all across America. I said, start immediately. A month later, we were on CBS. They were showing us, and it just took off everywhere. Now we've put out there almost 700,000 Bhagavad Gitas in motels, hotels. And now we're expanding into hospitals and all kinds of other venues because one person had an idea and just went for it. And what happens? Lord Chaitanya backs you up. There it is, Bhagavad Gita, next to the Holy Bible. And so number 3 is? Number 2, don't scare the cat. And number 1, correct, very good. Number 4 is you must organize. Because you can do this as a hobby if you want to just do a few books here and there and just do it randomly. But if you want to build an empire, if you want to actually shock the world by distributing more books than anybody thought possible and inundate the world with transcendental literature, you have to organize. And there are many different principles for organization. In fact, this is Prabhupada's 7th purpose of ISKCON. He said, with a view towards achieving aforementioned purposes, that's the first 6, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. This is his basic mission statement for the Krishna consciousness movement. And the 7th is that we will achieve all the aforementioned purposes by distributing books. Did you ever notice that till now? Go ahead and say no, you'll make me feel better. Thank you. Okay, so organization means to get your calendars out, get paper, pen, digital, whatever you use to start planning things, just like people do in companies. How do they stay on a schedule to build a rocket at NASA? They have forced efficiency because they know the rocket's going to take off at a certain point and they have to be together. In fact, the modern management system that's taught at all the top flight universities in the world came from NASA because they had to invent ways to become more efficient. And so when you have forced efficiency, like on this calendar that we started doing years ago and saying every month for our community, there's going to be a certain weekend when everybody in the community is going to be offered an opportunity to go out on Sankirtan together. We called it the Monthly Sankirtan Festival. Now it's called the MSF. It's all over the world now. And so now, when you have a point in time, you know you're building towards it, you know you got to get ready for things, and you start pushing for it. And that's where the whole community gets the benefit, because that energy that comes out of building towards a certain date to present a Sankirtan festival, it permeates the whole community. Everyone starts feeling that creative energy and that organizational energy. So goals are potent, my old friend Will McCoy. This is a great mantra, goals are potent. As soon as you set a goal, first of all, it shows you're serious. If you don't have a goal, you're not serious. If you commit to a goal, then you're serious, and that's when the lights come on. It's like flipping a switch. If in any given community, you come together and you decide amongst yourself, this is how many books, as an example, we're going to distribute this year. Let's just say last year you did about 75,000 books here, because I think that's pretty accurate. And let's just say this year you said something like, we're going to do 100,000 books. As soon as you ratify it and you all agree, we're going to do 100,000 books, you won't be able to sleep tonight. Because you'll be thinking, like, how are we going to do this? And just following that is the information that will flow into your mental system and into your heart from Lord Chaitanya, telling you exactly how you're going to do it. And you'll do it step by step. And the next thing you know, the whole community is going to experience the benefit of this. This is what it means to live on the edge. Always look for a fresh challenge and rise up and meet it. Otherwise, you plateau and your community doesn't grow. And this is the best way to do it, set goals. Over the last 7 years in North America, we've grown by thousands of percentage points because of organization on individual levels. This is somebody's garage. And in the larger community levels, and working together as teams. We have the North American Sankirtan Leaders Team that meets at least once a month. Now we have a Global Leaders Team where we meet together and we talk about ways to incrementally improve the overall book distribution in the world. So you can do this too. Organize. Be careful with the assets that you get. Take good care of the Lakshmi, the gifts people are giving back to you, and make sure that it's all engaged in Krishna's service. Use every kind of technology that's available to you to expand your communication capabilities. WhatsApp has been a boon for the Sankirtan parties all over the world. And also report and read your scores so they're visible to everybody in the community so they know what's going on. So those are a few more thoughts, and now we'll just take a couple of reflections. So we're running out of time, aren't we? That's a shame, a crying shame. But do it really quick because we're running out of time. Just give a few reflections. Yes, Venkateshwar Balaji Prabhu.
I have two questions. One is about chat.
Yes.
Yes, right. And I've been doing that. But the question is, do we just read only Sanskrit or should we also read the translation? Because just reading the Sanskrit, not many people will understand. I don't understand.
Have you ever been able to successfully just read all the Sanskrit and not read the English?
No.
See? And that's what happens. The thing is, if you're sticking your nose in the Bhagavad Gita every day, you start to get interested in it. That's the beauty of chat. You keep the bar low and just say, at least do this. And if you're reading the Sanskrit, then you're going to say, hey, what does that mean? And you'll start reading the English. And then you're going to hear the verse somewhere else, and you say, I'm going to read the purport. And then somebody's going, let's go, we got to go. And he goes, no, I got to finish this. Because, you get addicted to it. And that's what you want to get addicted to. Little jivas get addicted to everything. Because that's our nature. We're looking for pleasure. And if you get your addiction from the Bhagavad Gita, you're in luck. And the good way to do it is just keep doing it every day until you get really attached to it. So the answer is it's important to read the English along with the Sanskrit.
Yes, read
Okay.
English.
You read both.
Okay.
Yeah, and read the purports too. Other reflections?
I have a second question.
Yes?
When you go to door to books, how do you start out? You knock on the door and then say what?
Well, first thing is you have to organize your thoughts. So my thought pattern when I go door to door, when you go home for Thanksgiving or something to see all your best friends? Anybody? Can I get a yes on that one? Yes. Or let's say you're going to see your best friends for prasadam and you're really hungry and you haven't seen them in a long time. How do you feel? Kind of happy, right? It's the best thing in life. Going to see friends, having prasadam, and you knock on the door, and that anticipation when all your best friends are about to open the door and invite you in and give you prasadam and stuff like that? You know that feeling?
Yep.
What does it feel like? It's exhilarating, right? So that's how I work myself into that when I knock on the door and I go, my best friends are in there, they invite me in for prasadam. So as soon as they open the door, I'm like, do I know you? That's the energy that's coming off of me when I open the door. It's like, it's exciting. And then I just introduce myself, and if I have people with me, and I've had up to 75 people with me at one door, and I have a picture to prove it, and I introduce every single one of them. And then I tell them what we're doing. I hand them books, and I just tell them what the books, and I'll tell you tomorrow, I'm going to give you mantras that are infallible. When you take these mantras, you'll be able to distribute a book anywhere to anyone at any time, and I guarantee it. I promise you it will work. And so then we just present it, and they take the book, and we give them gifts. We offer them opportunity to give gifts back, and then we go away, and everyone's happy, and the books are inside. And we go to bed at night thinking about where those books are right now and what they might be talking about inside. The lady comes home, and it's like, what do you got there, Charles? And Charles said, I don't know, a guy came to the door, and it's interesting, and like, let's read a paragraph. You can try this at home, and then you open randomly to any paragraph, see what might Charles and Mary be reading, and just see, what is the scenario there. It's exciting. So one last word before we parlay into tomorrow, because we're done for the day, and my intention was to present the legacy and the 4 laws. Tomorrow we'll go into some tips, and also I'll give you a script that you can work with so that you can feel very confident when you go out on book distribution. Now, a couple points. One is, we're going out to distribute books. Don't worry about performing at all. That's not what this is about. We're not expecting you to show any prowess. All we're doing is, when we go out tomorrow, our only objective is just to see if we can actually move this many devotees from point A to point B. Because the hardest part of book distribution is troop movement. It's actually getting people out the door and figuring out how to move them from one place to another. After you're finished with that, everything else is easy. Distributing books, no problem. And so what we do as a little ritual, which we'll do tomorrow, is when we go to our spots that our Sankirtan leaders here are going to tell us are our spots, and they're going to assign us spots. We don't even have to think. What we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to touch the pavement, and every one of us will take a picture of us touching the pavement together. And then you're done for the day. You don't have to do anything else. And we'll share those pictures on our WhatsApp group, together touching the pavement, and then you can send them to all your friends on Facebook and everything like that. Say, I touched the pavement, I'm done for the day. And anything you do after that is extra. So that's one thing. And the other thing, I just want to alleviate any fear about donations. Here's the reason that we even bother asking for donations at all. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, don't teach this to people who aren't devoted or sincere. So how are you going to know when you're in the heat of the battle, you're going from person to person, if somebody's actually qualified to take a book? Because we don't want to just stand on the street corner and give them to anybody. They'll throw them away, and they'll think they're useless, and that degrades the whole value of the book and the idea of distributing anyway. We want to be selective. And one of the ways that we're selective is that we ask people for donation. And so Krishna says, don't give them to people who aren't devoted or austere. It's an austerity just hearing the words donation for people. Say donation, and they like, oh my God, I have to give up some hard-earned money or something like that. But here's the real reason. When somebody gives something in return for spiritual knowledge, it gives them a qualification to be able to look at it, to appreciate it, and go deeply within it, because they've done a small sacrifice of giving a token in return for the literature itself. So don't deprive people of the opportunity to do a little service in return for the book. Doesn't mean they have to give. Even if they don't give, you can still give them the book, because as I tell people, if they're sincere, they want to take it, you paid attention. If you paid attention, that's good enough for me, even if you don't have the money. But I give them the opportunity to give so that they can open up and participate in the yajna. And the way that I tell them, and I'm going to go over this ad infinitum tomorrow so that you have it in your pocket, ready to go at any time. For donations, I say, we don't sell these like in a bookstore. We only ask for donation. We don't need the money. The only reason we ask is when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the spiritual teachers who have passed it down over many generations, and it allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. And halfway through telling people this, and you'll learn this tomorrow, how to say that, and you'll have it on a card also, so you can read it from the card, which is actually even better. Tell people you're a beginner, you don't know what you're doing, you have to read from the card, and they'll go, I'll help you out. But when you tell people, you give that commonsensical, very truthful, straightforward explanation of why you ask for a donation. Halfway through the explanation, they'll be rummaging through their house, going through their pockets to try to give as much as possible so they can be connected to the previous teachers who have passed it down. It just makes sense to people, and it's the truth. And that's really why we're asking for donations. And we take it as a sacred bond between the person who gave it and us giving a gift in return. So the donation part, don't even worry. You're going to have this mantra, and once you use it, it's just going to be easy for you to distribute books wherever you go. Does that sound good? Please say yes. Yes. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to take up with tips, and we're actually going to have a rehearsal, and I'm going to line us all up so that you can practice saying the mantras that I teach you, and you're going to do it enough times so you're very confident and you'll know what you're doing. And then after that, we'll go out together, and you don't have to worry about anything because you don't have to perform. You don't even have to try the mantras. You just have to touch the pavement, and you're done for the day, and you can celebrate all you want. Does that sound okay? Okay. Thank you very much.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.